Hello guys, welcome to Cyborg. In this video, I'm gonna try to, as fast as I can, walk you through what the process of setting a new project within Cyborg looks like and integrating Cyborg into that project as well. To do this, I'm gonna use Sherlock, which is one of my good friends. It's an application that one of my good friends is building. It's a log analysis tool that uses ClickUs under the hood, which is actually pretty cool, and you guys should check it out. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to run this locally. I'm going to run Sherlock locally so that we can update and integrate Cyborg into it. Now, the first thing that's going to happen when you guys come to Cyborg is like you're going to see this walkthrough, like helper walkthrough screen. The main idea is that for Cyborg to be useful, you need to upload documentation. You need to upload, it has to have some context about what the application does and what type of specific user is trying to serve, etc. So in order to try to make this as easy as possible, we came up with the idea to provide an MCP server so that developers can, from the tools that they use the most, which is the ID and also the tool that knows their code base the most, be able to use that tool and leverage that to generate the most accurate and up-to-date documentation and make it as easy as possible for developers to maintain this. So that's kind of what this walkthrough is trying to help with. In this project, as I said, it's brand new, so we have no context, we have no documents within Cyborg. So we're going to start from scratch. Let's just start. So the first thing that we need to do is to generate an API key. So we're going to call that demo. I'm going to copy that API key. The second step is to install that MCP server that I was mentioning before. So we have some commands here for either Cloud or Cursor, but it should work with any type of agent that supports MCPs. In our case, I'm going to use Cloud, and we're going to go directly into our terminal. So I'm right now in the directory of the project. I'm running this in another terminal, and I'm going to copy that command that I just mentioned, and I'm going to copy that API key. This is for the MCP to be able to upload files directly into Cyborg. That's it. That's all you need to install that within Cloud. So now I should be able to open my terminal. Should be able to open Cloud, and you can see that Cyborg is installed here. You're going to be able to see the tools. We provide some tools to upload, syncs, update, and delete, but we also provide some prompts, which MCP supports. So by installing this, you should be able to see a custom command that we make for you, a custom prompt that is basically going to generate an interactive chat. It's going to hopefully help you generate the initial documentation faster, and it's going to basically ask you what type of documentation you want to do, what type of user do you want Cyborg to serve so that it knows how to respond, or what are the specific features you want to focus on to generate the initial set of documentation. The output of this command is going to be a set of markdown files. For this specific demo, I already ran this because it does take about 5 to 10 to 15 minutes depending on the amount of documentation you want, how much you iterate over it, and the size of your code base, of course. So to avoid that, I run that prior to this video. So you can see the output of those documents. As I said, a set of markdown files. In my case, I added some documents for what is Sherlock, a guide to get started, and I focused specifically on how to blog and how to query within the product. And it generated all this for me. Because that's specifically what I wanted to focus on this demo. So once you have documents within that specific Cyborg docs folder, it's very easy we can just ask Cloud to upload these documents within Cyborg. So let's do that. Sync docs with Cyborg. Very simple command, or whatever you want to that reference that. The agent should be able to be smart enough to know that it has a tool available to do this, and we're going to submit this, and success. We can see that it should have uploaded 7 files. We can verify this within our application, so let's go refresh the page here, and we should be able to see the documents. Something to notice here is that it says the status is already completed. This is important because this means the documents were not only uploaded, but they were processed. We generated chunks from them, and I'll input that into our vector database so that the agent can have a more powerful context and RAG to be able to have better responses and be more accurate. So in here, you can also see the documents. You can edit the document. This is live editor, but you should be able to manage all these directly from your IDE. You should be able to edit them, update, delete documents, and just ask your agent to keep that in sync, which is pretty neat. It allows this process to be way more simple, and as your project grows, Cyborg knowledge about your project should grow with it as well. Now, the next step is to integrate it. So I'm going to show you the UI. The UI, as you see, is running locally right now. It has no agent. Sherlock is not within this. So let's get started. Let's go to the code. In order to start, we're going to go and wrap our full application with Cyborg. So depending on where you want Cyborg to be rendered from, you're going to have to wrap that those components with our provider. So we provide some sample code here that we're going to reduce. I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to paste this import. Going to copy our provider, and then I'm going to bring this a little bit up, and that's it. That's all you need to be able to have Cyborg within your application. So we're going to copy the API key so that this can actually communicate to our database. I'm going to just paste it directly here for the sake of the demo. We're going to close cloud because we don't need it anymore, and we should be able to come back to our app, and there's it. We have already Cyborg enabled within our application. It has an agent that already knows what this project is about, has access to all those documents that I just showed. So we can test this. We can ask, what is this product about, for instance? At this point, it should already know that this is Sherlock and what it does. So we can see that this is working. I'm going to add one more thing here. In order for us to, so as you can see, we set on new chat, we have no history. In order to be able to have history, a chat history, we need to pass another property, which is the unique identifier, so that we can know who the user is, for instance. In reality, it can be any type of unique ID, but for this purpose, I'm going to use user. The project uses cleric to authenticate, so I'm going to pass the ID of the user. I'm going to add some conditions here. If we have a user ID, we're going to pass it. If not, it's going to be undefined and we have no history. And that's all we need. We should be able to see now that we have an option to see conversation history if we had one with this user. Now, this is very helpful. You can ask stuff about the project in general, but at this moment, Cyborg has no context of where it is in the product, what page is rendering right now, what the user is doing, nothing. So it's not that useful. So in order to accomplish that, we're going to go ahead and add another piece of code. I'm going to go specifically to one component called details. And in here, what this component does basically is going to open a panel with some details about the logs that you click on. And we're going to pass that context of that log into Cyborg. So I'm going to go ahead and copy some code that I had already written before this for the sake of time. And what we do here is we use the hook, the main hook that we provide, that is called use Cyborg. This hook is going to provide a bunch of tools that we're not going to have time to go through all of them for the purpose of this demo, but I'm going to focus specifically on two. The first one is set context. What this tool allows you to do is to be able to pass dynamic context into Cyborg. In the case of this component, the component receives a log that could change, and the component should be rendered with that. So we're going to use a use effect so that whenever that log changes, we're going to pass context into the agent. And this set context function can receive any type of object. It's up to you to define it and specify whatever you want the agent to have access to. Ideally, the properties should be descriptive so the agent knows what this is about. And in our case, I just added a log details property with the ID and the details of that specific log. You can also pass context directly as an object here. It has a bunch of configurations directly into the hook, but we also provided you this so that it can be dynamic and you can manage this within any type of function that you want. So let's test this. Now that we have that, we should be able, in theory, if we click on that log, and we come here, we should be able to see that Cyborg should be able to know basically what we're seeing here, which is the details of the log. So let me see, what is this log about? Perfect. So you can see that it already knows, it has the information about this, and it answers according to that, which is great. This is what we want to. The second to last thing that I wanted to show is that just so far we've only been able to ask questions about Cyborg or about the current status of the component that I'm rendering, but I would love to also be able to take action. So for instance, if I'm here and I'm seeing this request ID, I would love to be able to search for all the logs that had that request ID. So in order to do that, we need to provide tools for our agent, and we provide a very easy way to do this. We're going to go into a search controls component, and again, I have some code that I'm going to copy and paste. This is going to be a little bit more verbose, but bear with me. It's not that complicated. So we're going to use our same hook, and it's gonna provide us two tools, two functions, basically register tool and the same context that I had shown before. The register tool allows you to pass any type of, again, tool to the agent. And what you need to do is provide a name for that, some description so the agent knows what this is about, the parameters so he knows what to pass to that function. But the most important part is the handler. You can pass any type of handler with it. So you can execute any type of code once the agent executes this tool. This code is all going to execute on the client side. So you have full control over this, and it also has it leverage the authentication data of the user so you can perform actions on behalf of the user. We provide granular controls over permissions and how they should behave so that to make it safe. But we allow you guys to basically do whatever your imagination drives you to do. In our case, what we're going to do is we're going to receive some parameters from our agent to drive the search, and we're going to execute that search and return a success message so the agent knows that this was actually successful. That's all that's going on here. And then I also added some extra context so that the agent knows what is the current filters. So I'm passing the filters that the search currently has, and it can iterate over it as well. And that's it. That's all you need to be able to add more power into Cyborg. And you can add as many tools as you want. You can add as much context as you want, bearing in mind that this is the more like you need to try to design this so that this is as efficient as possible for Cyborg for the amount of tokens we use. But basically, the imagination is the limit. And we're gonna test this now. So let's, for example, come back here, and I'm gonna ask what is search for all the logs with this request ID. Now this should be able to execute our tool and provide a summary of what happened. So you see here that the request ID was executed. We can see all the logs for that request ID, the info, and the warrant. And now Cyborg not only can answer questions about the product, about the context of the product, but I can actually perform actions within the product. This can be either UI actions, API calls on behalf of the user, or whatever you guys can think of. The last thing that I want to show to finish this demo is that sometimes, for example, maybe we have a mistake here, and we would like to have an action on which Cyborg can act from. So we thought about this too, and to support this, we provide a different tool to complement. So we're gonna go into a component called logs container, and we're gonna copy another set of code. The reason why I wanted to show that is we provide two major hooks, use Cyborg as you saw before, and also one that is called use chat, which gives you direct access into the chat, maybe opening the model, closing the model, triggering a prompt, or even access to directly send a message if you want to create a custom UI for this. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to show this one thing, which is triggering prompt to satisfy the need that we just described. In here, I'm going to pass a use callback that executes a trigger prompt based on the error. Depending on when the error changes, this trigger prompt, this handled ask UI function will update. I'm passing two things. I'm passing the first one is a prompt. How can I fix this query error? This is actually going to be visible for the user as the chat loads. And then I'm passing some instructions, which is going to be added into the system prompt of the agent, so that the users don't see the specific instructions that you're going to pass to the agent to complete the action that you're trying to trigger. In our case, I ask it to execute search query whenever this is requested. The other thing is that we need to add this into the UI. So I'm going to copy. We need to provide some way for the users to actually execute this. I'm going to create another button here that says Ask AI and calls that handle Ask AI function. Now you see it. You should be able to see it here in the UI. If we were in this situation, we should be able to click it. It's going to open a new chat. It's going to ask the question. You can see that it says, how can I fix this query error, which is what we actually wanted the user to be able to see. The error was the following. We executed the hook as we had instructed within the instructions, which was part of the system prompt. It gave a little bit of explanation of what's going on and also executed the fix. So you can start imagining that with the tools that we're providing, you can basically make your application smarter and basically make it a Cyborg with the help of Cyborg and be able to perform way smarter interface for your users. Hope you like it. This is Cyborg in a nutshell. There's a bunch of other features that I don't have time to go through, but you can see it in our documentation. So we are constantly adding more as we're evolving and we're getting more requests. So thanks for coming.